The next morning arrived without fanfare. It was Saturday, so there was no alarm and no reason to rush. The morning light through the blinds was bright, like it was happy to see me and welcoming me to a new day full of possibility. But I lay there staring at the ceiling, my mind racing and my dread mounting. When I finally got out of bed, I made coffee. I drank one sip and poured it out. It tasted wrong. I made another. That one wasn't right either, so I just left it on the counter, abandoned. I went to the living room and scrolled through new messages on my phone. My eyes slipped over words without registering any of them. The book was where I'd left it, waiting, beckoning to me. I told myself I'd only read one paragraph, just to see if it was still whatever it was. Maybe it had changed overnight. Maybe now it was just a regular book. I opened it carefully, like it might explode in my hand. The book described Prince Bereth taking a bath. More than a couple sentences were used to describe his magnificently lean and finely muscled physique. 2 attendants washed him without speaking. When he finished, they helped him into a thick green robe and left him sitting in a dressing room alone. It seemed a little weird, like what kind of man needs people to bathe and dress him? But it wasn't anything extraordinary. Maybe I had imagined everything? Honeysuckle, the prince murmured. How do I convince you? Damn it! I slammed the book shut. At this point, I was starting to get pissed off. It felt like this book was jerking me around. But more than that, I realized I was starting to feel this pull to read the book, and I hated that realization. It felt like every page I turned was leading me to the edge of something I can't step back from. And if I continued, I would eventually fall off that edge and be lost forever. Is that the secret? Will continuing to read the book cause the grand arrival to happen? If I resist the pull and stop reading, will that prevent it? Is that the choice Ciara was talking about? I put the book back down. I ate breakfast, got showered, got dressed. I even went through and cleaned out my purse. And let me tell you, a woman's purse is a mystery even to herself. And no, I'm not explaining that any further. I was desperately trying to take my mind off the book, still laying on the coffee table. I could still feel its pull. I picked it up and shoved it down to the bottom of my purse and buried it under tampons and Kleenex and a can of pepper spray. I chuckled at the thought that if I sprayed the book, maybe it would leave me alone. But I didn't. And it didn't. My phone rang later in the morning. I saw it was my Uncle Jack and answered it, happy to have someone to talk to. Hey, kiddo, how you doing? His voice was deep and gravelly, but also warm and kind. I'm fine, thinking through some things. Why? I heard what happened in the office, just wanted to check in and see if everything was okay. I could tell he was trying to sound casual about it. I sighed. No, there's no problem. I caught Braden cheating on me with Sophia, but I'm not even angry about it anymore. Sophia is so hard up to win, well, she won a complete loser. Congratulations to her. Are you sure? He asked cautiously. If things are uncomfortable for you, I can step in. No, it's fine, really. There was a long pause. I know you work for me, but we're still family. I want you to know you can talk to me. I just don't want to leave things unsaid, okay? If you're struggling, I've always got your back. And there I was. For a split second, I was 10 years old again, coming home from school to that silent, empty house, knowing something was very wrong, but hadn't yet discovered the horror of what was waiting for me. I shook my head and returned to the present, but that dread was still there. Do I tell him about the book? How would I even start? It sounds crazy even to me, and I'm the one living it. My mind raced with possibilities, and none of them seemed satisfying. I'm fine. I know you'd help me with anything, and I appreciate it more than I can say. There is something, but I don't have words for it yet, at least nothing that makes sense. I promise I'll ask for help as soon as I know what I need help with. All right, I'll be here when you're ready. And just like that, the seriousness and dread of the moment evaporated. The kids are coming home from college to visit tomorrow. Maisie's gonna make her pot roast. You'll come, right? I laughed softly. Of course I wouldn't miss Auntie's pot roast for anything. Can I bring a dessert? Oh, absolutely. Something with chocolate, I think. I could almost see the twinkle in his eye on the other end of the line. Oh, chocolate. Is there a special announcement coming? My uncle laughed. All my kids will be under the same roof. That's always worth celebrating. Then I will be there, with chocolate. We said our goodbyes and hung up. I sat in silence for several minutes, just staring at my phone. The apartment felt wrong. How do I even describe it? It's like when you buy something like a microwave oven or some other electrical device, and only after having it and using it for a long time, you realize there's a clear film that you're supposed to remove ages ago, and it's just now starting to come loose and separate. That's how reality felt in that moment. I was so out of sorts I didn't even think about the book for a while, and that was my next mistake. I threw on a comfy gray hoodie and decided to go to the mall. I wanted to be somewhere loud and bustling with people. I wanted to look through all the cute clothing stores and knick-knack shops. So off I went. I strolled around for a couple of hours, but didn't find anything I wanted to buy. Eventually, I hit up the food court for some lunch. The constant hum of consumption and conversation filled the space. I got some fish tacos because, yum. Plus, it was food that demanded my hands and attention. I was still trying to ignore the book buried in my purse. I watched the people around me. Some of them were laughing. Some kids were crying because their parents wouldn't get them ice cream. It all felt so comfortably mundane. Why would anybody want to leave this? That's when I heard it. A deep, loud, thunderous sound of a giant gong cut cleanly through the food court noise, sharp enough to make my spine go straight. I turned in my seat, hot sauce dripped from the corner of my mouth. I scanned the area for a source, for some sign of commotion. The second strike was louder. It seemed to come from everywhere, and from nowhere. I stood up, my heart pounding now, scanning faces and exits. People kept eating, talking, laughing. Could they not hear it? The third strike barely registered. There was no time to think. The entire world lurched forward and then, whoosh. The closest way I could describe it was that it felt like I'd been flushed down a toilet. The reality itself had closed tightly around me, stretched me out, and pushed me through a thin straw. I was sure I screamed, but all I heard was the rushing. When I finally landed, I fell flat on my behind on a hard stone floor. Pain exploded up through my body. Shit, I yelled. When I looked up, my stomach dropped all over again. I was in a massive ornate room decorated in several shades of green. A couple dozen curved tables were arranged in a circle around me in the center. Over 100 people were seated in brightly colored clothing. Massive golden chandeliers of woven metal leaves and vines adorned with twinkling crystal wind chimes hung overhead. A voice cried out, "The mortal has arrived." Everyone stood up and broke out in thunderous applause. And just like that, I understood. Even though I'd resisted the book, I still fell ass backwards over the edge.